I want to thank the chairman for yielding. I want to thank Secretary Azar for coming before our committee and look forward to hearing your testimony to actually get to the facts of what is happening, the great work that your team has done. But first, I want to express my prayers and support to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. We know they tested positive. I know how tough and strong of a person President Trump is and how tireless he is. And I know he's going to continue working for the American people. But Jennifer and I surely keep he and the First Lady in our prayers for a quick and speedy recovery, as I join with the chairman in expressing those thoughts. Secretary Azar, I truly want to thank you, as well as the 80,000 men and women who work for your agency, who have been working tirelessly so well for the American people, completely focused on learning more about this virus, which we learn more about every day, as well as working so feverishly now towards finding one or more vaccines and therapies, which, by the way, your agency has already identified and approved a number of therapies that are working well to save lives, truly saving American lives as we speak. It's not gone without notice, the tireless work that your men and women at HHS and all of the healthcare workers across this country are doing to save American lives. They are the frontline heroes of this virus. Today, the Republicans on this subcommittee are releasing a report. It's President Trump's plan, a whole of America response. Yes, there is a plan. For those who choose not to read the plan, they might walk around saying there's not a plan. There are tens of thousands of pages of plans that continue to be updated by your agency and so many other federal agencies that are all directly involved in helping us get through this. The plans cover so many things, from how to properly protect yourself and your family, how to safely reopen schools. We've actually had hearings on a number of items of those plans. We've talked about them. We've given the links to websites to people who deny that there's a plan, who hold their head in the sand and say there's no plan. And again, just because you don't want to read a plan doesn't mean there isn't a plan. And so in this report, we detail so many aspects of the plan. I want to go through some of the Trump administration's national plan, some of the things that he's done, which include thousands of pages of guidance backing all of these up. First, it's a plan to procure personal protective equipment. So we know this has come up many times. On March 29th of 2020, President Trump launched Project Airbridge and began to carefully and thoughtfully leverage the Defense Production Act. That's right, the president multiple times has invoked the Defense Production Act to secure PPE, to secure ventilators, and other needed resources to combat this pandemic. As of September 20th, 2020, the Trump administration coordinated the delivery or production of 243 million N95 masks, 1.1 billion surgical and procedural masks, 45.5 million eye and face shields, 429 million gowns and coveralls, and over 27.5 billion gloves. Further, as of September 20th or September 10th of 2020, the Strategic National Stockpile is fully stocked with 135,784 ventilators. There was not one hospital in America that ran short of ventilators. There was not one American through this whole pandemic that was denied a ventilator who needed one. In fact, today, most doctors will tell you if someone comes in, the last thing they want to do is put them on a ventilator because the science has advanced. Doctors know a lot more about this virus today than they did just a few months ago, and I credit our medical community for learning and sharing that information with others as we learn more every day to save American lives. That has been part of President Trump's plan. In addition, a plan to slow the spread. On March 16, 2020, President Trump announced national guidelines entitled, quote, 15 days to slow the spread. In fact, Dr. Fauci testified right there where you're sitting, Secretary Azar, just a few weeks ago before this committee, when I asked him, was that part of the president's plan? He said, yes. I said, did that plan save American lives? He said, yes. President Trump made those decisions. That was part of the president's plan. These guidelines outline how to help slow the virus's spread and keep our most high-risk populations safe. Again, as we learn more about this virus, we learn it doesn't affect everyone equally. And so as there are populations that we identify as higher at risk, there are more resources given. Part of the president's plan, by the way, as Secretary Azar is well aware, was to acquire and distribute testing machines to every nursing home in America. Admiral Giroir sat right there at that table just a few weeks ago in this committee to talk about that aspect of President Trump's plan and how it's being carried out today to protect our nation's seniors, which we uncovered. Over 40% of all deaths in America came from less than 1% of America's population, and that is seniors in nursing homes. It was through the work of some of us on this committee that we identified that, yes, 45 governors actually followed the president's plan, the CMS guidelines, which were issued for how nursing homes could properly take care of seniors in nursing homes. That was part of the president's plan. Unfortunately, 5 governors might have read that plan, but they ignored that plan, completely threw it in the trash can and said, we're going to do our own thing. Sadly, it had deadly consequences. At least 25,000 seniors died who shouldn't have died in nursing homes because those 5 governors went against the president's plan. As we know in America, nursing homes are governed at the state level, not at the federal level. The guidance came from the federal level, but these 5 governors chose to go the other way. Some of them are still trying to hide the facts. Many of us have asked on this committee to get those facts. Not all have. I wish the majority would join us in getting the facts for those families, thousands of families who still want and deserve answers for why their loved ones died, many of whom could not even go and visit their father, their aunt, their grandmother who died in those nursing homes, who shouldn't have died if those 5 governors would have followed the guidelines. Shouldn't be a political issue. 45 governors got it right, Republicans and Democrats. If 5 got it wrong, we should all be wanting to find out why they got it wrong and find out how many people actually were victimized by those decisions. The fact that months and months later we still don't know and that data is being hidden by those 5 governors is a disgrace. Everybody should be demanding those answers. But again, the president laid out that plan. 45 governors followed it. A plan to have increased testing. On May 24th of 2020, the Trump administration released a report to Congress called COVID-19 Strategic Testing Plan, which built on the April 27th National Testing Blueprint. This report explains that, quote, state plans must establish a robust testing program that ensures adequacy of COVID-19 testing, including tests for contact tracing and surveillance of asymptomatic persons to determine community spread. Through these robust national testing plans, President Trump built the world's greatest testing apparatus from scratch. Again, we didn't even know this disease existed at the beginning of this year. China was lying to us. This committee still has yet to hold a single hearing on holding China accountable for their role in creating and spreading this virus while they lied to the world, while they hoarded PPE from us and every other country. We ought to have that hearing. But through the robust testing plans, what the president did to build this from scratch allowed the U.S. to conduct over 100 million tests in only 5 months. 100 million tests, and that testing number continues to grow every day. We continue to see more companies come up with testing equipment that has been approved by the FDA to test people for COVID-19 quicker, faster, and more readily available. But over 100 million tests in over 5 months. A plan to safely reopen the economy. On April 16th of 2020, President Trump unveiled the guidelines for opening up America again. Yes, that is part of the plan. You could still go read it. You could have read it months ago. It's been widely available. It's a three-phased approach to help state and local officials reopen their economies safely under the direction of each state's governor. That's right, the president respects that each state is run by a governor who's duly elected, who answers to the people of their state, who has legislatures who have been meeting, determining the best safety guidelines for each of their states as well. Guidelines come out to help every state do the things they need to do to take care of the people in those states. And those guidelines get updated as we learn more, as the scientists learn more. The Atlanta Federal Reserve is predicting third quarter growth is on track to increase by 32% annualized, because under this plan, President Trump has focused on helping rebuild what was the strongest economy in the history of our country and in the history of the world. Before COVID, we saw one of the strongest and healthiest economies our nation's ever experienced, and it was working for every income level. In fact, the lowest income levels, and the data's out there very clearly, the lowest income levels were the ones who were benefiting the most. That's because under the previous administration, we had lost our middle class. Literally, thousands of great American companies fled America, left America to go to other countries. Our tax structure was anti-competitive. It's crushing our ability to manufacture, to make things in America again. And now we saw those jobs being brought back, those manufacturing facilities being brought back, and everybody was participating. Every income level was benefiting. And then COVID hit. And so as we battle the virus through the plan that the president's laid out, working with the smartest people in the world, the best scientists in the world, Secretary Azar and his 80,000 plus employees who are working hard to make sure that we keep learning and keep getting this information out. The president also is focused on rebuilding that strong economy again, and it's starting. We're seeing every month over 1 million jobs being created, people getting back in the workforce, using safety protocols, knowing that they can go get about their way of life again differently, but start doing the things they need to do again, taking their tests again, going and getting their mammograms and colonoscopies again, which unfortunately we saw a dramatic drop during the shut-in. People weren't going to their doctor to get their other tests run. And we are concerned that that's going to cause problems down the road. We need to encourage people to get back out and go see their doctor again, go get tested again, get their chemotherapy again if you were battling cancer. That will save American lives as well. President, again, as part of his plan, put out a detailed plan to safely reopen our schools. We've had hearings on this. American Academy of Pediatrics has laid out guidelines. The CDC has laid out guidelines for safely reopening schools. The scientists and physicians at the American Academy of Pediatrics and the National Academy's Committee on Guidance for K-12 Education on Responding to COVID-19 recommend schools implement policies which enable students to learn in person. We've seen the science on the detrimental impacts on kids that are not learning in school. Many school systems have reopened because the guidelines are there for how to safely do it. Some have chosen not to follow those guidelines and are holding those kids back because other kids are learning. And the kids that aren't learning in the classroom
Mr. Chairman,
are falling behind
regular
others.
Order here. Could we have some semblance of regular order, Mr. Chairman?
I think we both have given opening statements, Mr. Chairman.
I understand. I have given the ranking member of the Liberties on opening statements, and I would hope he would conclude soon.
And clearly both of us have experienced the same openings. And finally, part of this plan, as we detail it, a plan to create a safe and effective vaccine. That's right. Something we should all be applauding, the fact that now 4 American companies, internationally respected, are in final stages of FDA approval for a safe and effective vaccine. Not something where corners are being cut. And I know the Secretary is going to talk about this more in detail, but it's very important on this point that we make a note that these companies are all following the best guidelines, not just in America, but in the world. The FDA guidelines are the gold standard. No corners are being cut, but more importantly, all the focus of the best medical research in the world is now being put on finding a vaccine to protect Americans. And it is a dangerous idea that somebody would try to undermine public confidence in any one of these vaccines if they're approved by the FDA. If they don't work, they will not be approved. But if they're approved, it's because they went through all the rigors of the gold standard, the FDA, testing on thousands and thousands of people who have signed up. And I applaud again the 250,000 plus Americans who have agreed to participate in these trials. It's helped us get to this point in revolutionary pace because of the president's plan. Operation Warp Speed is part of that, which President Trump laid out. So all of these, Mr. Chairman, are part of a comprehensive plan that continues to grow as we learn more, as we find out more, as scientists discover more in advance in ways that we've maybe never seen in modern times. And we need to continue that approach. We need to continue that advancement. I look forward to hearing your testimony, Mr. Secretary and Mr. Chairman. I yield back the balance of my time.